Welcome to NarrativeNook where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. You could find a spot, and I'll take care of the order. The coffee shop was an old-school kind where orders were made at the counter. As Romeo queued, a few girls noticed him, drawn irresistibly to his charm. He's gorgeous. Is he a couple with that girl here from earlier? They're such a good match. I'd love to add him on WhatsApp. Me too, and let's do it. A guy that hot, if I don't add him now, I'll regret it for life. One brave college student, studying abroad at Bellauria University, summoned her courage. She approached Romeo with a tentative hi, and bashfully asked, "Could I possibly have your WhatsApp? I'd love to be your friends." "Apologies, I'm already engaged," Romeo declined politely. Yet, despite the affable refusal, the girl remained captivated by his gentle voice and courteous demeanor. Returning to her group, she exclaimed, "He was so polite and well-mannered, even apologized for being engaged. That girl over there, she must be his fiancée, right? She's so lucky. I adore guys who can gracefully deflect such attention." Totally. Arabella had chosen a window seat when her phone vibrated with a WhatsApp message. "Arabella, have you arrived?" It was from Timothy. "I'm here," she typed back. She had a rendezvous Timothy at 2, and Romeo, ever the escort, had accompanied her. Timothy replied a surprised emoji. "Already there? Hold on, I'll be right there." Upon entering, Timothy accidentally bumped into a server and hastily offered a flurry of apologies. He spotted Arabella by the window, gazed directly his way. He enthusiastically waved and made his way to her. "You're early. What coffee do you fancy?" "I'm on it." "You think I'll lend you to get coffee from my fiancé?" The moment was punctuated by Romeo's timely return with their coffees. "Seems you two are acquainted." Timothy's smile stiffened as he gazed in disbelief from Romeo to Arabella. "Arabella is your fiancé? Why, do you think we don't look like we belong together? That we aren't a good match?" The blunt realization hit Timothy like a bolt from the blue. Spotting an iced coffee among the ones Romeo carried, he grabbed it, downing half in a gulp. Arabella was confounded, and Romeo looked on, puzzled by his friend's strange behavior. "Romeo has spoken of you before. But seeing you in person, you surpass the beauty of legends. I knew your name, and now, what a small world, you are Romeo's betrothed, so that we're almost like family." His heart was breaking. He struggled to keep up his smile. "Wait, where's Derek? I'll go check." "Wait a second," Romeo said, eyeing Timothy and then Arabella. "Did you two know each other before? How could they have met if not here?" Before Timothy could respond, Romeo pressed on, "How did you come to know each other?" "I told you, he helped me out a couple of times, and I just wanted to return the favor with a coffee. So, he's a close friend of yours as well?" Romeo nodded. "Yeah, me, him, and a bunch of other guys grew up together. Because as they grew older, they each started their businesses or took over the family companies. They were always jet-setting around the world, and hardly ever had time to gather." "What favor did he do for you?" In Romeo's mind, Timothy wasn't the type to poke his nose into other people's affairs, or go out of his way to help. Yesterday, in the presidential suite, he hadn't asked too much, only knew that his Bella was meeting someone today over coffee. As for who this person was, or what favor they'd done, he was clueless. "I had run into a bit of trouble, and both times he stood up for me," Arabella explained succinctly. "Me, Timothy, always had a soft spot. I can't help playing the knight whenever I see someone in need. Well, I'm a bit thirsty, let me grab a coffee." "Didn't you still have half of iced coffee left?" Romeo found Timothy was distracted, his mood a bit off. With a laugh, Timothy responded, "It's too cold, I'm gonna get a hot one." He was about to walk away when Romeo offered, "I've got a hot coffee right here." He had several cups on his tray, all different flavors he'd ordered for Arabella to try. "That's for your fiancé. I'll get my own, you guys enjoy," Timothy replied, quickly excusing himself from the situation. Perhaps he couldn't bear the idea that the girl he'd liked for so long was his buddy's bride-to-be. His heart was shattered, and the brutal reality hit him like a slap in the face. Arabella's questioning gaze fell on Romeo, as if to ask, "What's up with your friend? Is he upset? Don't worry about him." Romeo placed the remaining cups of coffee in front of Arabella. "These are the cafe's latest blends. Try them and see which one you like best." He also laid out an assortment of delicate pastries in front of her, all for her to choose. "They say these sweets are their bestsellers." Romeo offered her a small spoonful. "How's the taste?" "A bit sweet." "Then try this one." Romeo scooped up another cake, delicately feeding it to her. Timothy, who had just ordered his coffee and was witnessing this scene, felt an overwhelming urge to cry. Already devastated, reality continued its merciless assault, aiming to give him a final blow. He was heartbroken. The girl full of compassion, who rescued children trapped in cages, and who has the impressive agility and superior driving skills, was not just his best friend's fiancée, but she and his friend were also sickeningly sweet together. He hadn't even wooed her yet, and he'd already lost her for good. In his 22 years of life, he'd finally met someone special. And he had thought, even if she had a boyfriend, that guy couldn't possibly be as great as him. He was confident he could win her over. After ordering his coffee, he didn't know how he managed to carry his heavy heart towards them, sit opposite, and watch their affectionate interactions. He took a few sips of the coffee, finding it tasteless, then stood up again. "I'm gonna check if Derek has arrived." Arabella gave Romeo another look. "This time," Romeo said, "I'll go check on him." He got up and approached Timothy, who was still consumed by his mixed emotions. "What's up?" As Romeo closed the distance, he could see the emotions Timothy struggled to hide in his eyes, a storm of unshed sorrow and disillusionment. Suddenly, what Timothy confessed to him earlier flooded Romeo. Timothy had said before that the girl had the voice of an angel, a name as melodious as her voice, strikingly beauty, and can handle a car like she was born to race. Could he be talking about his fiancée? Except for his fiancée, in his 20-something years of life, he couldn't recall meeting another girl who was so stunning. Every single trait Timothy mentioned matched his fiancée to the letter. So, he's got the hots for Bella? Was it the surprise and unconcealed disappointment in Timothy's face that gave it away? Because he knew that Bella was his fiancée? No wonder Timothy had downed half a cup of iced coffee earlier to calm his nerves after finding out who Bella was. "How long have you been eyeing my fiancée?" Romeo suddenly narrowed his eyes and asked, "Trying to make a move on my girl, huh?" "What are you talking about?" Timothy was caught off guard by his sharp observation and forced a laugh. "I mean, sure, she is stunning, one of a kind, and drives like a pro." "How do you know about her driving skills?" Romeo zeroed in on that detail with a dangerous glint in his eye. "You've seen her drive?" I just chanced upon a car race that day. Some poor loser couldn't beat her and started accusing her car of being rigged. I just spoke up for her, that's all." "So, you fell for her right then and there?" Romeo asked, a realization dawning on him. He didn't even know his little firecracker was racing. She kept it a secret from him. It must have been too dangerous, otherwise, she would have told him. With these thoughts, his gaze drifted past the floor-to-ceiling window, fixing on the girl inside. Arabella was still unaware of the significance of that gaze. A thought crossed Romeo's mind: making moves while I'm away on business, she's definitely in for a bit of punishment. "What kind of race was it?" he asked again. "Not any official event, just some underground racing." She was racing for Light Fleet. So, his fiancée was a professional race car driver? Light Fleet had her on board for a while? Romeo pressed further. "No, it seems she's new. I heard that their team captain, Ophelia Almond, had injured her foot." Ophelia. Romeo remembered. That night when he called Bella, she mentioned visiting a friend who had hurt her foot. Later, when they video-called, her friend Ophelia also made an appearance. So, her friend was the captain of Light Fleet? His Bella stepped in for her injured friend? The rest of the Light Fleet didn't step up, they let his Bella take the wheel. That alone speaks volumes about her capabilities. Was the race dangerous? Romeo continued to ask. It wouldn't be quite right to call the race dangerous. After all, there was a huge gap in their skills. but your fiancée was nothing short of remarkable. She appeared out of nowhere and won 2 races back-to-back. If only you had seen her commanding performance." Upon finishing his words, Timothy realized he was revealing too much and sealed his lips. Romeo's watched him with a veiled threat in his eyes. "So that's the moment you fell for her?" That night, before the video call with Bella, Timothy did indeed call him to say he fancied a girl who was amazing behind the wheel, and shared his own passion. Could it have been his fiancée all along? "You fancy Bella? She agreed to meet you for coffee today." Confronted with the skepticism in Romeo's increasingly wary gaze, Timothy scrambled for an explanation. No. The girl I'm into is a racer with the light fleet. I told you ages ago, I fell for that girl who's a professional racer. Your fiancée isn't a pro, right?" Though not entirely truthful, as the girl he liked was even more impressive than any professional racer. "Besides, I went to the race for the girl I like, never expecting her to be a no-show. It was your fiancée who ended up competing, and by sheer chance, I found myself speaking up for her." Romeo's eyes was a blend of doubt and insight, looking as though he was trying to sift truth from lies. "It wasn't really just happenstance," Timothy admitted. "Defending your fiancée was also my attempt to impress the girl I adore, to maybe get her take a shine to me." "You mentioned that girl is very compassionate," Romeo suddenly said. Yeah, that's right. She's a regular in taking care of stray cats and dogs." Timothy invented. At that moment, he felt a relief. It was good that he had never told Romeo about the girl's compassionate act of saving a kid from a cage. Otherwise, explaining it would be a nightmare. "You said that girl is slim, tall, beautiful, and has class, and crucially, looks younger than you," Romeo observed him closely. "Right, there are a few on the light fleet who look younger than I do. You can't assume I'm interested just because your fiancé fits that description, can you?" Timothy, though feeling a twinge of guilt, refused to admit anything. Romeo's doubts alleviated, but he still inquired further. "You also said she agreed to have coffee with you. No time like present." "Yeah, that's true, but she had something come up last minute. I can't be too pushy, or I'd risk scaring her off, right?" Timothy spun his tale with pretend honesty. "Your fiancée offered me coffee because I helped her out twice. The contexts are totally different. You surely don't have any inappropriate thoughts about my fiancée?" "Me? How could I have any thoughts about her? Really, does everyone in love become this paranoid? Worrying that someone's going to claim their precious? Let me be clear, I've absolutely had no designs on your fiancé. Even if he did, they were history." From this moment on, he, Timothy, was heartbroken. He had fallen for someone impossible. Sunk by the reckless aim of an indifferent Cupid. "Hey, Derek's just arrived. See?" You can still spot his toned muscles under the coat. It's been a while. Timothy finally spied a diversion and pounced on it, slapping Derek on the arm. "Man, you've been working out a lot, haven't you?" Derek just smiled. Had he known he'd meet his ideal girl, he would have spent extra hours every day sculpting his physique. "I thought we were meeting at 3. Why are you guys here so early?" Derek thought he would be the first to arrive, but there they were, chatting outside the cafe. He checked his watch. It was only 2:50. Romeo being early was one thing, but since when did Timothy stick to a schedule? Moreover, they were both braving the chill. Such brotherly unity. "I heard you're meeting the girl you fancy for coffee today. Where is it happening?" "Romeo and I thought we might swing by and see." Derek teased Timothy, throwing an impish look in Romeo's way, ignorant of the awkward conversation that had just occurred. Timothy didn't expect the topic he had just managed to avert making a swift return. He laughed awkwardly and said, "She had a last-minute thing. I had plans to wow you both." "Isn't she pretty?" "More than that, she's got it all." "I've never heard you rave about a girl like this before. I've got to see her for myself one day. But, you know, I've recently met a girl who's pretty unique too." Derek looked like he was on cloud 9, having a spring in his step. "What's so special about her?" Timothy wished for nothing more than for Derek's entire attention to be on this topic. "Why don't we go inside and grab a seat?" Derek suggested, and turned to Romeo. Weren't you going to introduce us to your fiancée? Don't you need to pick her up? She's already here. Romeo teased. You said the girl you met is really special, stunning, right? Absolutely. I can guarantee you've never come across anyone as breathtaking in all your 20-something years. Romeo didn't buy it. The only woman who had ever taken his breath away was his Bella. You couldn't find a second one with Bella's skills in the whole world, let alone with her beauty and grace. Timothy didn't believe it either. The only person who had ever dazzled him was Romeo's fiancée, the woman he loved but couldn't have. Guess her job. Derek held the door to the coffee shop open for them to enter, grinning ear to ear. You'll never guess. Artist, writer, celebrity. Timothy blurted out, teacher, lawyer, doctor. You guessed it right. Derek laughed as they approached a table by the window. When his gaze met Arabella's, he thought, what a coincidence. Dr. Bell? She's here too? Arabella stood up when she saw them, and Romeo's hand found its way to her slender waist as he introduced her. This is my fiancée, Arabella Collins. Derek looked incredulously at Romeo's hand on the girl's waist. What had he just said? This girl was his fiancée? Suddenly, Derek could almost hear the sound of his own heart shattering. Timothy was surprised too. The girl's last name wasn't Bennett. Was she a Collins? What a coincidence. The same last name as Serena Collins. But with so many people in the world named Collins, and considering she'd raced with Sean's drift team, it was unlikely she had any connection to the Collins family. Besides, he had attended several Collins family banquets, but had never seen a girl as striking as her. It's probably just a coincidence. Hello, Arabella greeted Derek warmly. So, is Arabella Collins your real name? Nice to meet you. Hearing Derek's comment, both Romeo and Timothy blurted out, she has another name? Derek was momentarily confused by their questions. Dr. Bell, that's her, right? Arabella was taken aback. How did he know about her other identity? I saw you at my hospital saving a life yesterday. Derek explained. At first, I was puzzled at how there could be such a young lead surgeon, until someone mentioned Dr. Bell. Romeo settled his gaze on Arabella, his voice hushed with intrigue. You did a life-saving stint at the hospital yesterday? Just a deal, she replied curtly. With those 3 words, Romeo pieced it together. She must have performed surgery for someone in exchange for a reward. The hospital you went to happened to be under his name, Romeo clarified. That's when Arabella connected the dots. No wonder Derek knew about her identity as Dr. Bell. It's all destiny, pure destiny, Derek chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. He couldn't believe that the girl he'd taken a fancy to was his best mate's fiancée. He felt an urge to cry. At that moment, it seemed like the whole world was basking in love and affection, leaving him the sole castaway in the sea of solitude. Even Timothy, the eternal bachelor, managed to snag a coffee date. While he hadn't even started dating, he already felt like going through a breakup. Timothy was astonished at Arabella's accomplishments, not to mention her secret identity as a medical prodigy. She looked no older than a teenager, yet she was already a lead surgeon. The surgeons at Derek's hospital were notoriously arrogant, but they allowed Arabella to be the lead. Her medical skills must be off the charts. We were just guessing what occupation the girl he likes might have. Perhaps worried that Arabella would feel out of place and bored, Romeo brought up their earlier conversation, with his eyes shifting to Derek. So which is it? Artist, author, celebrity, teacher, lawyer, or doctor? Derek felt an even stronger urge to cry. Please, no more questions, he silently pleaded, already feeling utterly humiliated. Just then, Timothy had his mouth dropped open as if he had figured something out. You were at the hospital yesterday and saw Arabella in surgery, and then you mentioned meeting a special girl. You're not talking about... He shifted his gaze incredulously between Derek and Arabella, while Romeo narrowed his eyes with a hint of danger. Quit joking around, Derek, with his survival instincts kicking in, quickly deflected. Arabella, don't get it wrong, Timothy just loves to tease. Arabella didn't jump to conclusions, but Romeo seemed to see right through Derek with his intense stare. He quietly asked the girl beside him, Bella, did you encounter anyone unusual at the hospital? Arabella shook her head. She had spent only 2 hours in the rest room after the surgery, waiting till that Sean guy woke up and signed the island sale agreement before leaving. The special girl I mentioned is a celebrity. Maybe when I catch her interest, I'll introduce her to you. With this deflection, Derek grabbed a cup of coffee and took a couple of sips, laughing to mask his discomfort. Timothy was about to point out that it was his coffee, but seeing Derek already sipping from it, he decided to keep quiet. What's her name? Romeo's gaze remained fixed on Derek. I remember you said once that the showbiz crowd wasn't your cup of tea. Just, the one who plays the piano and sings beautifully. Derek was clueless about the current celebrities. He'd lost interest in the entertainment industry long ago after finding none of the celebrities appealing. A musical talent? My fiancé might know her, Romeo mentioned, casting a tender glance at Arabella as he introduced. My fiancé has 2 other personas, she's Melody and Summer. You gotta be kidding. Both Derek and Timothy looked utterly shocked. This woman had already revealed so many facets of her life, and now she was also Maestro Melody and Teacher Summer? Not too long ago, the internet buzzed with speculation when Summer made a surprise appearance at a David Collins concert. Everyone was hoping for a romance between them. It turned out that Summer was the fiancé of their good buddy. Romeo caught the shocked and incredulous expressions on their faces and curled his lips into a smirk. Scared already? His fiancé had more identities than they could imagine. Each one was at the top of their game in the industry. Timothy couldn't believe that the girl he liked was truly extraordinary. As for Derek, well, he never imagined that such an outstanding girl would only ever be his buddy's wife, leaving him with a heartache and a desire to cry. So, my fiancé might know the person you mentioned. Romeo's words had Derek waving his hands and chuckling. She's no match for Melody and Summer. Suddenly, Timothy remembered something. Oh, by the way, speaking of Melody, I've got something here for her to take a look at. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling through Facebook, saying, with the holidays around the corner, I am thinking of getting something nice for my grandparents. I stumbled upon someone selling a painting created by Mirabelle. He claimed that he bought it at a premium from Maestro Melody herself, intending to give it as a gift to his own fiancée. But since their engagement party fell through, he didn't want the painting to remind him of her, so he's put the painting up for sale. Timothy opened the picture and showed it to Arabella. My grandparents are big fans of Mirabelle's works, so I wanted to ask you how much you sold it to him for. He started by asking for 50 million. It wasn't that Timothy couldn't afford it, but that the seller was now claiming there were others willing to pay 60, and even 70 million. Mirabelle's paintings were indeed rare, but Timothy had the nagging feeling that he was being swindled. Arabella glanced at it and smelled a rat. Have you ever painted something like this? Romeo asked in a low voice. He noticed that the painting did resemble Arabella's style to a large extent in its mood and grandeur, but upon closer inspection, there were flaws. If he hadn't known Arabella and her work so well, he might have been deceived at first glance. Hearing Romeo ask about this, both Timothy and Derek grew more stunned. After Arabella confirmed that she had indeed painted one like this, but the one was a fake, not by her hand, their disbelief intensified. I did paint one that was later displayed at an exhibition. But after the exhibition ended, it was claimed by Grandpa Alberto. Someone must have taken a photo and replicated it. Though Timothy wasn't an art connoisseur, he had been exposed to fine art from a young age. With original famous paintings hanging in his home all over, he had developed an eye for authenticity. But this forger had done such a convincing job that he had mistaken it for the real thing, which was why he had considered buying it. So, you're also Mirabelle. Derek couldn't believe that this woman was a jack of all trades, and he was completely stunned into speechlessness. If your grandparents like this painting, I'll send some other pieces that I own later, and you can pick one you like. Buying paintings directly from her was much cheaper than getting duped by forgeries flooding the market. Meanwhile, Louisa had been calling Sean multiple times. Without getting an answer, she grew more than frustrated and turned to call Stewart. Stewart, terrified at the sight of her incoming call, fumbled with his phone. It slipped through his fingers and, after being juggled for a few seconds, it crashed to the floor and got disconnected. Can you believe he just hung up on me? Louisa fumed, jabbing the screen to redial. Stewart glanced at Sean, who was still resting in the hospital bed, and with a heavy heart, he stepped into the hallway to answer the call, bracing himself for the onslaught. "You ignored my calls? And hanged up on me? Have you all grown too big for your britches? Is that you got too wild out there, and thought you can just hang up on me now?" "Ma'am, I swear I didn't hang up. It dropped onto the floor." Blaming heaven and earth but never yourself, huh, Stewart? After all these years shadowing Sean, you've learned nothing but shirking responsibility. You're trying to give me an ulcer, aren't you? Stewart attempted to soothe her. "Please, ma'am, just cool down a bit." "Cool down? I'm steaming right now." Louisa had been trying to get a hold of her fourth son for half a year now, but to no avail. He either dodged her calls, ignored her messages, or made up excuses to avoid her. Anyway, there was no sign of him. During this time, Hans, Chase, Clark, and David have all visited their sister, except for that rascal Sean. "Stewart, I want a straight answer now. What in the world are you two up to? Is Sean coming home for the new year or not?" Stewart shivered as he replied, "Ma'am, I can't predict Sean's whereabouts." "Then give me an address, I'll drag him back myself." Half a year without a peep, he gave no care for the family, let alone his parents. Nor did he give a thought for his own sister. "Ma'am, take it out on me, I can take a hit." "Just wait, you'll get yours too." Stewart visibly shook at the threat. "I'm asking you one last time, where is Sean?" Louisa's tone was a clear indication of her seriousness. She wasn't going to be brushed off with a few words. Stewart could hear Kenneth trying to calm her in the background. Honey, don't work yourself into a frenzy. The new year is coming, and we've got to plan a grand holiday feast for our darling daughter. Look at you, all this anger is going to make you sick." Louisa snapped back. "Sean has crossed the line. I've called and messaged him countless times, but he was either making excuses or ignoring me. And Stewart is no better, a chip off the old block." Stewart knew she was adamant about getting Sean home. Just then, a slight noise came from the hospital room. It seemed Sean woke up. Stewart rapped on the door lightly but urgently, and as he entered, he mouthed exaggeratedly, "Ma'am, it's ma'am." Sean, who just came to his consciousness, was greeted by Stewart's contorted face and wild gesticulations. He raised an eyebrow. "Are you asking for trouble?" Stewart was speechless. "Is Sean right there?" Louisa's voice tightened, demanding, "Put him on the phone now." Stewart could only offer Sean a sympathetic glance as he silently handed over the phone. Sean saw the caller ID and shot Stewart a warning look. Stewart felt helpless. It wasn't his fault that Sean had been caught. Seeing Sean still hooked up to the phone, Stewart wisely switched to speakerphone. "Sean, I know you can hear me. Your sister has been home for 6 months now, and you haven't bothered to show up or even send a single gift. New Year is around the corner, and we're going to announce her to all our friends and family. You need to be here, do you understand? If I don't see you in the next couple of days, you might just forget about this home, and drop the Collins name as well. Don't even call me Mom anymore." Stewart heard Kenneth trying to calm Louisa down on the other end of the phone. "Honey, you can be mad, but don't work yourself into a frenzy. Sit down, take a deep breath." As he saw Mrs. Collins so worked up, but found it impossible to tell her that Sean was on the brink of uncovering some leads about a fire incident abroad, he had no choice but to explain, "Mrs. Collins, it's not that Sean doesn't want to come home, it's just that he's sick. He just had surgery and is currently on 4 fluids." "What? He is sick? When did this happen? Is it serious? Why did he need surgery?" Louisa's tone shifted to one of concern. "Why is he dealing with this alone? Why didn't you tell me?" "He didn't want to worry you both. The way you guys kept secrets from me makes me worry more. He's in post-surgery recovery, and just needs to rest for some more days. Let him come home to recuperate. Your sister, she's a whiz, who was known as Dr. Bell. She's the one who cured your grandparents." Before Louisa could finish, Sean blurted out, "What did you say?" Stewart, who thought he misheard it as well, paused for a while and said, "Ma'am, do you mean Miss Collins is Dr. Bell?" "Yes." Louisa affirmed over the phone, "You boys haven't been home, so we didn't tell you. Her medical skills are exceptional. She even cured Philip Macmillan. Does she look a bit like you, fair-skinned with long hair? Sean asked urgently. Nonsense, she's my daughter. Of course she looks like me. Sean pressed on in disbelief. Is she rather aloof, with a temper? What temper? Your sister couldn't be sweeter, the darling of the house and the treasure of us. Sean continued, is she good in fighting? What are you talking about? Your sister is gentle and kind. She's no thug. Can't you have a better imagination about your sister? What kind of descriptions are those? You just said she's Dr. Bell? Sean felt his heart clench. Yes, and let me tell you, she's not only just Dr. Bell but also the renowned artist Mirabelle. You've seen the Christmas gift she sent you. I bet it's better than any of the world-famous paintings we have at home. Sean's mind went blank. The item Hans passed on to him was so precious. And he... Sean abruptly ended the call and urged Steward to dial the club manager. Find out where that painting ended up. It was a painting his sister had made for him. And he hadn't even looked at it. As soon as the call got connected, Sean snatched Steward's phone immediately and demanded, "Where's the painting I left behind that day?" The club manager, startled by Sean's direct questioning, stammered, "Sir, you said you didn't want it. I reminded you that evening that you'd left something in the club. So you lost it?" Sean's voice was tinged with desperation. No, it's not lost. I opened it and saw that the painting was so good, thinking it would be a shame to toss it, so I hung it up." "Where did you hang it up?" "In my office, on the wall. It was the welcome gift from my sister. I hadn't even taken a glance at it, and you went ahead and hung it on your wall?" The club manager was scared witless. Wasn't it Sean who said it wasn't wanted? Why didn't you hang your own head up there? Although Sean was steaming, he felt relieved that the painting was still intact. "Keep an eye on it and don't touch it. I'll come to fetch it." After ending the call, Sean tried to get out of bed, but the movement pulled at his wound, causing his eyes to darken, so much so that even his breathing became pained. "Sean, let me go for you instead. Your body hasn't been recovered." "Then what are you waiting for? Get going. Right away." Steward realized that Sean's temper was as unpredictable as ever. Just as he was about to leave the room, he heard Sean add, "And have someone check on my sister's whereabouts." Where could she have gone after leaving the hospital? Who was that henchman following her? It seemed like his sister held some high status he was unaware of. Was she also suspicious about that fire years ago? She must have been conducting a secret investigation without letting their parents know, which means that she's smarter and more capable than he thought. She's only been back for half a year but has already been onto Sam's trail. "Sean." Without leaving the ward, Steward asked shakily, "Dr. Bell is Miss Collins, right? I've tried to nab her several times." Though he never succeeded, but the hostility was established. If Miss Collins got mad, and later blamed him, he couldn't be left holding the bag for this. He was just following orders. Who told you to go around arresting people without proper investigation? After all these years, you're still so reckless. Upon hearing this, Stewart was flooded with hundreds of question marks in his mind. Who was it that wanted to skin her alive and throw her to the wolves? "All right, I'll put in a good word for you later. Now get going, will you?" Stewart thought to himself, "Sean, do you think you can really avoid this? You were the one who hit her on the back." As the brother and sister sparred that day, neither yielded. Sean's forearm had hit Miss Collins' back. Not just they saw it, Miss Collins was probably well aware too. "Why are you still standing there? What, are you a tree?" "Yes, Sean." Steward took the order and left the ward. Sean felt a bit guilty, realizing he might have to face the music, and with that guilt came a mix of anxiety and irritation. It was only now that he realized he didn't have his sister's phone number, not even a WhatsApp contact. His only choice was to send messages to his buddies, asking around for his sister's contact information. "Hans, finally remembered you have a sister, huh? Chaucel, you think you can just ask for your sister's number and get it? Clark, I had to go through quite a bit to get our sister's number myself. You think it's that easy?" If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.